Hey everybody, this is John for Cork.com, and I am standing here with a sales and marketing manager for a region of, for a wine region that you all should be very familiar with at this point. She is the sales and marketing manager for Nautilus Wines based in
Marlborough. So hi, I'm Katy Prescott. Obviously behaved myself this year, so they let me come out and play with you guys over in North America, so very excited to be here. I have been over for the last 3 weeks in California, across Canada, and now here in New York, so it's great to catch up with you guys at Cork. So
awesome.
Thanks for having me.
So right now we're tasting and we're enjoying a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc made by Nautilus, which for anybody familiar with the varietal and the region, they know that it's great once the temperatures start rising like they have here in New York City. Let's talk about the 2010 vintage that has just kind of started to wrap up in New Zealand. Talk a little bit about what we should expect from 2010.
So 2010 vintage finished for us last week. So we got our last fruit in last week, which is great. You know, it's always a sigh of relief once the last harvest comes in and is safely in the winery. 2010 was a cooler than average year, so that's great for flavour development. Cooler temperatures mean that the flavours develop more slowly, and in theory you should get much more complex flavours. So we're really excited about the wines. I have to say, with being here for the last 3 weeks, I haven't tasted any of the finished wines as yet, but the flavours of the juice when they were starting to pick before I left was looking really fantastic, and I know the guys back at the winery are pretty excited. So fingers crossed, it's all looking good. So
awesome. Do you have any recent vintages that you could compare it to that it might be most similar to, or is it unique?
It's probably too early for me to say at this point. I'd have to wait till I go back and taste the wines myself. So, but as I say, things are looking pretty promising at the moment. So
awesome. Well, you know, as I said, New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc is the thing to be drinking this time of year, it seems like. You know, talk a little bit about the surge in popularity. Over the last few years, we've seen a huge increase in production in New Zealand with Sauvignon Blanc. You know, what has it been like as a sales manager to try and sell a product that has seen such a spike in popularity?
Well, you're absolutely right. Sauvignon Blanc has been growing almost in every single market around the world, which is great for us. And I guess the reason for that, from my point of view, or from what I've seen, is that it's such a distinctive style. Sauvignon Blanc from Marlborough, in particular, and New Zealand in general, is so distinctive. It's so unlike any other Sauvignon Blanc from anywhere else around the world. And typically, I know in the States, in Australia, the UK, obviously New Zealand, the top Sauvignon Blanc is a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. So obviously consumers are loving the style, as are we as winemakers, so it's really great to see.
Awesome. And, you know, Nautilus is certainly not one of the newer kids on the block. It's somebody who's made a name for themselves in Marlborough and is well established. You know, that being said, there has been a huge influx in the number of producers and the number of brands in New Zealand.
That's absolutely right.
Let's talk about what it's like to be, you know, one of the original big players.
One of the older guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Nautilus started out in 1985, which doesn't sound that long ago, you know, compared to some of the European brands, but really is in terms of Marlborough. So the first commercial wines were released from Marlborough in 78, I think. So we were one of the earlier guys. The 2009 vintage, which is just hitting the US at the moment, is our 25th anniversary vintage, which we're really proud of. We're still family owned, which a lot of the older guys have now become part of some of the bigger wine corporations, so we're pretty excited about that. And you're right, there's been a lot of people that have come into the game, you know, over the last 5, 10, 15 years. What we've tried to do is keep a very consistent style over that time. So really focusing on quite a complex, elegant style of wine, a little more subtle on the nose than some, but very elegant, very focused on the palate. It's got good weight and structure, and that's certainly paid off. You know, very food-friendly wine, a serious style of Sauvignon Blanc. So that's what we do. There's a lot of other styles out there. I encourage you to try all of them. I was going to say,
without calling out any names, have you seen people going to that kind of dramatic style where they're losing nuance and a little bit over the top, where they're a little bit too big?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think the thing that has really driven the New Zealand or Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc category is that it's so distinctive. So it's natural that people will try and, you know, push that ever further and be as upfront and immediate and aromatic as possible. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's introducing a lot of new people to the category, but that's not what we're about at Nautilus. We're trying to do something a little more restrained, but a little more elegant. So
awesome. Well, let's go on. We're going to pour ourselves a glass of the Pinot Gris and raise our glass to you.
Beautiful.